Okay, good. Okay, good evening. Let me call to order the regular meeting of the St. Helena City Council for November 24, 2015. And would the Vice Mayor please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Black, roll call.
Mayor Galbraith,
Here.
Vice Mayor White,
Here.
Councilmember Kroll,
Here.
Councilmember Doring, absent, Councilmember Pitts.
Here.
All right. I'd like to begin this evening with a moment of silence for Alston Hayne. Alston was mayor of the city for 4 years. He was a most admired diplomat. He was also a most admired farmer. But from my perspective, he was also always the perfect gentleman. He will be most missed. So if you would join me in a moment of silence for Alston Hayne, thank you. Okay, let's go to public forum. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address us on matters not on our agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. No public comment, perhaps not too surprising 2 days before Thanksgiving. Next on the agenda is reports by staff and city council, future agenda items, and AB 1234 reports. Mr. Brown.
Nothing from the city attorney.
Ms. Phillips.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Just a couple of items. Just a reminder that we'll be canceling the second council meeting in December. That's the December 22nd council meeting. And that posting will occur in the future weeks, but just wanted to remind everyone, City Hall is closed on Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holiday. And the Revenue Source Task Force will meet again on December 2nd from 9 to 11 at the City Hall conference room.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mitz? Ms. Black? Mr. Hausch?
Just a few things. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
We just want to welcome Zena Gamero to the city for a new administrative assistant at City Hall. She's serving half-time for the city clerk's office as well as the planning department. And so folks who come in will see a new face at the front counter and talk to a new person when they call. We're very excited to have her there to help us out. And as well, the short-term rental ordinance will be coming back to the city council on December 8th. So just letting the members of the public know that that will be coming up. There was a review of it by the commission on the 17th, and it's coming before the council on the 8th.
All right. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to let the council and community know about some upcoming construction on Main Street. The project at the corner of Main and Adams at 1380 Main, I believe is the address. The new building going up there.
Oh, yes.
They're going to be doing the sidewalk reconstruction work very soon, probably within the next couple weeks. So that sidewalk there along the project frontage along both Adams and Main will be closed for about a week or so. And so people are going to be asked to cross the street farther down at Hunt, or if they're heading south, cross right there at Adams and go over to the other side of the west side of the street for that one block.
Okay. I look forward to that sidewalk repair.
Well, the only other safe place to cross is down at Hunt. So they're just working in that one.
The sidewalk in front of the building.
Correct.
Right. It used to be an old ramp, so it's going to be nice to have a curbed sidewalk there, for sure. All right. Members of the council?
Nothing
Mr.
to
Pitts?
report.
Ms. Kroll?
Nothing.
Mr. White?
I just want to give a little update on last week we had our Watershed Information and Conservation Council's meeting, and there was a number of interesting presentations that we had that if you go to the WICS website, you'll be able to get that information. And One of them was, let's see, groundwater information, and then, let's see, there was a couple of really good ones. It was the Napa County Regional Park and Open Space, now it's working, presentation that was very interesting, So anyway, go to the WIC website, and I know there was a new report from NOAA's fisheries that it's a 1,400-page report on all the creeks in Napa and Sonoma counties that talk about the fish habitat and what future what future regulations may be coming down for to be able to open up the fish waterways, which kind of leads into the Upper York Creek dam removal is part of that report. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Palmer, you're going to need to at least skim it, because I think Bell Canyon's also discussed in that report. A little surprised to read the summary in the newspaper to the effect that it made it appear we didn't have a bypass obligation, which of course we do to protect the fish. So
Right.
I thought there were, but in any event,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different possible ramifications coming from this report.
Can I ask Mr. Palmer one more question?
oh, sure.
Well, it's on. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm just wondering, can that sidewalk happen in the first week of January so that it doesn't disrupt the holiday shopping?
Well, it should only be for a week, we're thinking. I don't have any control over their construction timeline. We can encourage them to try and schedule it and get done as quick as we can. But if we start dictating to them when they can work, it starts to delay their project. And
All right. It's already a jaywalking nightmare there anyway. I don't know if it seems like every time I'm driving down there, people are jaywalking like crazy, and it just seems like that's the time of year where more people are out and about shopping and doing that kind of thing, and it just seems like it may exacerbate the problem, because as much as you tell people to go down to hunt, they don't always do it.
right, and in deference to that, we did evaluate trying to provide other alternatives for safe passage, but there's no safe way to get them through the construction zone. And so at some point it's going to need to be closed to get people through there safely. And controlling their timeline as a development project, a private project, it's tough for me to do without.
Except for it's a public sidewalk.
True.
So it seems like if we could delay it just till the week after Christmas even, it seems like that would be
And
a safer option.
right, what happens is then we delay opening to their building, and they will claim that somehow we're damaging them by not being able to open the building on time.
Steve and I talked about this. We thought that the first week of December would be the best of all the weeks. I mean, we're sort of getting already into the holidays. But rather than getting later into the shopping season, that if we could get them through it now, that was the best time. So
No, I agree. It seemed like he said, maybe I misunderstood Steve. I thought he said it's going to be happening in the next couple. I got the impression there wasn't a definite date, and that it was maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
we think the first week of December is what we're pushing for.
That's what we're trying to make happen, yes.
I mean, I would say if they can't do it that week, they can't do it until after Christmas. I mean, it just seems like a safety issue to me. But
Yeah,
We're getting a little bit deep
Out of
into
it,
this
okay.
discussion
okay,
for
all
the
right.
Brown Act.
okay. Very good. My only comment would be that Thanksgiving Day we have the Turkey Trot. It's sponsored by Friends and Foundation of the St. Helena Public Library and Randa House, and I certainly hope to see as many of my colleagues there as possible. So that gets us to the consent items. We have a number of consent items. I'm going to read them off, and if any member of the council or any member of the public would like any of these items pulled, just let me know, and we'll pull them and go through the regular process. Item 6, consideration and proposed approval of a resolution authorizing payment of $290,177 to the Regional Water Quality Control Board for civil liability order R2-2015-1051, and approving budget amendments to fiscal year 2015-2016 wastewater operations budget and capital improvement program budget, transferring $290,177 from capital improvement project C64 Oak Avenue sewer line replacement project to wastewater operations budget. 7, consideration and proposed approval resolution of the addition of a full-time public works utility manager position to manage water production, wastewater treatment, and manage regulatory compliance for water production, water distribution, wastewater collection, and wastewater treatment for a total cost of $64,164 the remainder of fiscal year 2015-16, and an estimate for fiscal year 2016-17 of $128,325. All right. 8, annual AB 1600 development impact fee report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2015. I hope everybody takes the time to read that, by the way. 9, consideration of proposed approval of a resolution approving an agreement with Wildan Financial Services to provide a full cost services study and a development impact fee study for a total not to exceed $81,540. 10, consideration of proposed approval of a resolution rescinding Resolution 2014-81 and approving an investment policy for the City of St. Helena and review annual investment report. All right. So at this point, the chair would entertain a motion to approve consent items 6, 8, and 9.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Black.
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. So that takes us back to item 7, dealing with the Public Works Utility Manager position and lead staff. Mr. Palmer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This item, we're asking for the council to consider addition of a full-time Public Works Utility Manager position to manage water production, wastewater treatment, regulatory compliance, and a budget adjustment to fund that position. The city is facing a number of challenges providing water and wastewater currently and in the upcoming years. As evidenced by the item 6 on the consent calendar tonight, we have an ACL order we're paying for a leak that happened in the wastewater treatment plant. We also have a tentative new permit and a cease and desist order that's pending right now at the regional board to continue operating the wastewater treatment plant. That permit and CDO require a number of improvements and studies to be done in the next 5-year term. In addition, we're still pursuing rights to the water in Bell Canyon Creek, and we have aging water and wastewater infrastructure that's going to require extensive capital improvements over the next coming years. So staff is recommending this manager position is necessary in order to continue to manage those facilities and comply with the current regulatory environment that just keeps getting more and more stringent. Annual cost of the Public Works Utility Manager position with full benefits is $128,325. Cost is not in the current annual budget, and it will be funded as a 50-50 split from the water and wastewater utilities. So funding for this position will be proposed to be included in the rate study update that is currently underway.
All right. Any initial questions of staff? Let me open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor Galbraith, council members, and staff. I've asked to pull this from the consent items because I don't think it should have ever been on there in the first place. Any item that wasn't discussed in the budget, which we painfully listened to details about twice now, and we've heard over and over again how short the money is in the city, how we're short of revenue. So anytime you're going to put an item on the budget that costs more money that wasn't on the agenda, that costs more money that wasn't acknowledged in the budget, and particularly when it's going to involve the taxpayer who pays water and sewer rates to pay for it, you really need to put this on the agenda as a noticed item and allow the public to come and comment on it. Now, I understand that the reason that Mr. Palmer feels he needs this position, although he has a heavy staff here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, I don't know how many of those are engineers, but he really has a heavy staff as it is. But I understand that the city was sued over some infraction at the water treatment plant. The city was sued over its lack of building affordable housing as well, as you recall, the Calderon lawsuit that's still hanging ominously over your heads, and I don't think that you're sure how you're going to meet the requirements of that lawsuit. But I didn't see you create a position to deal with the affordable housing issue. So I really believe that this item needs to be rescheduled. And I just want to mention one thing in closing before I go home and watch the Warriors game. We have a balance in this city. It's a balance between those of you who are elected, the city manager, and that staff. When that balance is threatened, when that scale starts to tip too far one way or the other, we could have a serious problem in the city, and I think that you need to be very cautious that that scale doesn't tip the wrong way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment on this item?
I'm Bobby Monette. I'm here as a citizen. I just wanted to add one thing to what Ms. Dell said, and that is, we've talked in here in the past about having shared positions and part-time positions or consultant positions for certain jobs, and I didn't get enough information. I was looking for a comparative study between the cost of this position and the cost of consultants or the cost of sharing this position with other cities. So I don't feel informed enough to even have a good opinion about this, and I was hoping that if it does get continued to be an item on a future agenda, that there be a cost analysis and comparative cost analysis included in the information that we get. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, I'll close the public hearing. Any further staff comment with respect to it? Before we open it up to council discussion?
Would you like me to respond to any of those?
Sure.
So first of all, it's been standard practice in this organization to always place any kind of personnel matters on the consent calendar. All the exec staff positions that have been hired and any additional positions that I have included in the time that I've been here have all been on consent. That is a public notice. There is a staff report, so there's always opportunity for the public. Just because it's on consent doesn't mean it's not an item that's going to be addressed or read or considered by the public or the council. So it's just a more normal course of business item. So I didn't change any standard practice that I've been using since I got here and what was in practice prior to me coming here. With regards to any kind of analysis, basically I'm your city manager and I'm responsible for the operations. Those are the kinds of things that I talk about with my staff and determine what's best for the organization. It's not appropriate. I certainly can if the council would ask, but my job is to make those decisions and bring to you my decision, what I think is best for the organization. And I strongly believe that the water and wastewater utilities need a manager that's focused on those operations. We've seen what's come forward in the past year and a half that this really talented staff has found, and there weren't very many managers in this organization. There's very hard-working staff, but we have to fix the model that we've had for the last decade because it didn't work. And we want to be a professional organization, and we want to deliver professional services, and we want to make sure that we're in compliance with the laws and regulations that we're required to do. And unfortunately, you have to spend money to run a proper organization. And most notably, the water and the wastewater funds are businesses. And they have to be run like a business. They cover their own costs. Yes, it's through the ratepayers. But it is really important that we have the adequate and appropriate staff to be able to manage these facilities. Consultants can do it. They'll do it at twice the cost. And they'll have 100 other clients and projects going on at the same time. And I think it's important. We are a small city, and we run an old, water and wastewater facilities that need tremendous attention. They need work, they need updates, and the regulatory requirements are incredibly difficult and complex. And so Steve and I have been working on this for over 6 months. We've had a manager out there on a temporary assignment in operations helping us look at our Public Works Department, and together we have come up with this as a solution, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
All right, thank you. No, the public hearing is closed. Any further discussion by council members?
I have some thoughts. To me, this is a very important position from a forward-thinking standpoint. Water is one of our most critical resources here, and we've been in a drought for years. We've been talking about, exploring tertiary wastewater treatment so we can put in purple pipes and start treating it. There's lots of money available in grants that we can be going after. We have a grant writer, but we don't have the staff or the bandwidth to even explore it. We're going to miss the boat if we don't jump on that, and I truly believe that. And our security and our long-term prosperity here really depends on water. I think at least 35, maybe 40% of our usage is landscaping. Property values are driven by your landscaping. If you don't have water, all of a sudden your property values start to decline, and so on and so forth. So if we can start replacing that, not only do we free up additional water from Bell and hopefully conserve more water in our wells. I mean, it's just a whole host of positive benefits. So to me, in addition to all the regulatory stuff we have to do, if we can start exploring that and secure our future availability of water, it's priceless. And so I'm supportive of this move, even though it actually is tough for me because I don't want to spend that money, but I think we need to protect our future.
So,
I'm also supportive of this. I know from my own business, the regulatory compliance issues with the state of California regarding water have become much more challenging in the last 2 years, and I'm sure they're going to get worse. And the cost of not complying adequately or somehow not complying with those regulations is very, very expensive. And so I wouldn't want us to be penny wise and pound foolish and not have this position in place.
Mr. White, any further thoughts?
No, I agree with both of them. I think we've dodged the bullet. And we need to make sure that we can take care of our regulatory compliances, and if we don't, I think the Regional Water Quality Control Board will come down on us pretty heavy the next time. So I think it's mandatory that we fill a position that will keep us in compliance and move forward. So I'm in favor of this.
Yeah, well, certainly I'm strongly in favor. As we look forward with the capital projects that we have, they have to be done in conjunction with our regulators. And we don't have a strong record in the past of having worked well with our regulators, and that absolutely has to change. While I never had any doubt in my own mind about the worthiness of the city manager's recommendation, if I'd had a shadow of a doubt, it would have certainly been removed when I read this morning this inspection of dam and reservoir and certified status dealing with the lower reservoir. It's absolutely shocking document to read. Here we have a regulator telling us back in 2008 that we have to make certain repairs and improvements, and he's directing us every couple of years to do it. As I understand it from this document, here we are in 2015 after the last direction, 2013, it remains undone. It's just not tenable to run our operations this way, and both water and wastewater are significant business plant type operations, and they deserve a manager that works with the regulators. And yes, down the road, if we find that his or her plate is not full, and I don't see that happening in any short period, it may be possible to reach out to Calistoga or some other community and say, hey, we have a fellow with this or a lady with this expertise, and maybe we can share. But I don't see that happening in any short time frame at this point, so I'm strongly in favor. I think with that, Ms. Black, you can call the, oh, we need a motion.
I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. All right, that takes us to the next item that was pulled, 10, consideration and proposed approval of a resolution rescinding Resolution 2014-81 and improving investment policy for the city of St. Helena and review annual investment report. It says the lead staff is Ms. Phillips, but maybe Ms. Mitz, isn't that you?
No, it's actually me.
Oh.
Last year, we made a change in the municipal code, and we removed the treasurer responsibilities from the finance director and put them over to the city manager so that there
Okay.
would be cross controls and more safeguards. So it's actually me. And so this is annually, I'm to bring as your treasurer to bring forward an investment policy for your review. We did this last year and didn't have any changes. This year there are some minor changes. You can see them in the red line version of the policy. That's just to update and keeping up with any changes in legislation. And also with regards to our investments, there were some changes that were done to reflect our current practice. We have two investment portfolios. One is with PFM. It's called a CAMP portfolio. We have about $8 million in that investment portfolio. I meet at least twice a year with our advisor. It's a very simple investment. It doesn't take a lot of, we don't have a lot of trades. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's considered relatively small in the finance world, even though it seems like a lot of money to us. And the other one is our LAIF account, and that's an account that's set up with the state that allows agencies to invest into an investment pool. The point behind all of our investments are in local government, we have an investment strategy called SLY, and that's security first, liquidity second, and yield is third, and that's how we invest with the city of St. Helena. That's our policy as well. And with LAIF and with PFM, we have maturity dates of between a year and 3 years. So we have a little bit lower interest rates, but we have to have access to our monies in the event that we have any issues or have challenges financially. We have to access our monies. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does any member of the council have any initial question? Let me open the public hearing. Ms. Manette?
Well, this is kind of in the same vein. First, I would like to say that I don't doubt your expertise or good judgment at all. That's not why I brought up what I brought up the last time, nor why I'm bringing this up. It's just when I read the report, I had questions and I didn't see the answers to the questions in the report, and that's why I was wanting some explanation. If they're not appropriate to have in that kind of detail in the agenda, I understand that. I wasn't aware of that. So this to me, this item is essentially and concerns the question that I'm concerned about is whether or not we should continue to require quarterly reporting, even though it's not legally required, and because I have some, I don't know why quarterly would be too often, and I couldn't read anything that would give me any sense on how to judge any other kind of interval requirement. So it just seems very vague and unclear about the reporting. And since it is an issue that involves taxpayer money, I thought that perhaps there could be, some definite metric, either twice a year, once a year, but that there be something there so that it wouldn't seem completely vague with no opportunity to know when it would be coming for public scrutiny. So that's my question here. That was the red line. The red line that the change was that there would no longer be quarterly meetings required, which might be totally appropriate, but I think there should be something said about when a meeting would be held at least once a year.
All right. Thank you very much. Any response? Ms. Phillips?
If you look at item number 12, it says the treasurer shall annually render to the city council a statement of investment policy which the council must consider in a public meeting. So it will be annual.
Okay. All right. So, any further discussion by council?
I just have a question. I think I read in here, and maybe I have the numbers wrong, but on the 6.9 million that's in this fund, it yields like 0.35%, and it's like $6,000 every 6 months or something like that. Are we paying to have that money managed? And if so, what does that cost?
Not in the LAIF account.
In the LAIF, it's free. The state just holds it. Okay. As I was going to see, if there's a cost that's more than that 6,000, maybe we could just hold cash and be totally liquid. The yield is so low.
There's actually, that's one of the reasons LAIF was set up is it's difficult for local banks to hold that kind of cash.
Okay.
So the LAIF account is a very safe investment tool. It's utilized by hundreds of local agencies, and so it's a good place for us to have a portion of our portfolio.
In the typical FDIC insurance caps aren't applied there, right?
Correct.
It's all covered.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not an expert, but I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, good. So at this point, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution rescinding Resolution 2014-81 and approving investment policy for the City of St. Helena, including the review of the annual investment report.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Black?
Councilmember Pitts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor White,
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll,
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith.
Yes. That takes us to our public hearing. Item 11, introduction and first reading of proposed modifications of the Development Impact Fee Ordinance Number 2013-2, Section 3.32070, Water Impact Fees B, Schedule of Water Impact Fees. Modification is to correct a calculation error discovered in the October 3, 2013 Development Impact Fee Study Report. And okay, Ms. Mitz, we get to you.
Great, thank you very much. A little bit of background is in 2013, the city did retain Colgan Consulting to assist with an update of our development impact fees. And then on November 12th, the city council did adopt ordinance number 213-2 establishing the new development impact fees, which took effect on January 12th, 2014. Since the time that it has been adopted, city staff has recently discovered that there is a calculation error in the study, inadvertently causing the amount of the water impact fee to be overstated. The underlying data and analysis were proper and supported by the substantial evidence, but an arithmetic error caused the bottom line water impact fee to be overstated by approximately 48%. The initial error was reflected in Table 7.1 in the council report, and then it was subsequently carried through to tables 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. So in your attachments, you can see Attachment A highlights what the calculation errors were in each of these tables. Attachment B is the original staff report. And so in the original staff report, it does show the proposed impact fees, which do include a 2.5% administrative fee. So if you see any discrepancies of the fees, it does have to do with the administrative fee. And then Attachment C is an updated report provided by Colgan Consulting showing what the corrected water development impact fee should have been, less the 2.5% administrative fee. As a result of the calculation error, the city has been overcharging the water impact fees by 48% since January 12, 2014. It's estimated this to be approximately $200,000 in overcharges. Staff does propose that the City Council adopt an ordinance based on the updated corrected report and to state the correct amount in the water system impact fees, and then also take action to refund the overcharges, the approximately $200,000. Doing this, the actions will ensure that the city only collects water impact fees in amounts that are reasonably related to the estimated cost of providing the services and/or facilities as established by the initial study by Colgan Consulting. The two tables that are listed in the staff report is a summary of the fees. The first table is what the actual adopted water impact fees were. So you'll see in the second column, it has the adopted amount that was effective on January 12, 2014. And then subsequently, we did add in our municipal code that every July 1st fee adjustments are made pursuant to an inflationary index. So you'll see in the inflationary index adjustment is July 1st of every year. So you'll see that the next column is July 1st, 2014, a 2.7% increase, and then July 1st, 2015 is also an additional 2.7% increase. So this is the fee schedule we're currently following for the water impact fee. Table 2 shows the proposed correction to the water impact fees, including the administrative fee. So if we're correcting this fee, you'll see what the adopted amount was that was reflected in the revisions by Colgan. So that is his revisions plus the 2.5% administrative fee, as well as the 2.7% increases annually on July 1st, 2014 and July 1st, 2015. So the fiscal impact of this ordinance, of adopting this ordinance change, is that approximately $200,000 will be refunded to customers. Funds for this are available in Fund 764, so we do have the funds available for it. If the ordinance is adopted, refunds for overcharges will be made to all customers charged incorrectly from January 12th, 2014 to the effective date of the ordinance change. And then going forward, the amounts collected will properly reflect the fees supported by the city's 2013 Nexus study. The recommended action is to introduce the ordinance reflecting the corrected water impact fees and direct staff to place on December 8th council agenda for adoption. If adopted, the corrected impact fees will take effect February 6, 2016, because they cannot take effect less than 60 days. So I am here to answer any questions, and I do want to thank Joel Colgan is here as well, and he can answer any questions for you regarding the study as well. Thank you.
All right. Any initial questions by council
Just
members?
a quick question. So to sort of simplify and boil it down, for like the last year, we've been collecting, more than we should have, but it's been held in an account and hasn't been spent, and essentially we can easily be refunded. Is there that administrative fee? Does that also come out of the refund of that? Did that go into another account, or did that to cover the time spent by staff, or did it go into?
It goes into the impact fee account.
It does, okay.
Yeah, so
all right.
that's already factored in for the 48% overcharge.
Yeah.
And these were projects that we had not, that based on the development impact fee study, that the impact fee would cover. These are projects that we hadn't started, so we do have the funds available.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. Let me open the public hearing. Let me close the public hearing. Any further council discussion on this one? Mr. White, could you?
Move to approve and introduce the ordinance reflecting the corrected water impact fees and direct staff to place on the December 8th council agenda for adoption.
And I'm sorry, you introduced that by title only?
Yes. Of course I did.
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. That takes us to new business. Deals with item 13, determine acceptance of electric vehicle chapter charger grant from Bay Climate Action Plan.
You missed 12.
Oh, I skipped 12. Oh, I did. I did, absolutely. Mea culpa. Introduction and first reading of proposed amendments to the city's purchasing system ordinance, St. Helena Municipal Code, Chapter 3.04, purchase of supplies, equipment and services, and procedures for public works projects. And again, Ms. Mitz.
Thank you very much. I thought you purposely didn't want to have to read everything on that
No.
first page.
No, I have read the staff report with great care.
Thank you. A little bit of background is the procurement of goods and services is one of the key staff activities that does impact the quality and timeliness related to the delivery of city services. Staff is proposing amendments to the city's purchasing system ordinance. In 2001, the City Council adopted Ordinance 2001-14, providing a comprehensive purchasing ordinance. And then in addition, City Council adopted Resolution number 2001-160, electing to follow the state of California best practices, I'm going to get through this, by becoming subject to the construction cost accounting procedures as established by the California Uniform Construction Cost Accounting Commission. To make things easy, the California legislature passed the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, which I'm going to just refer to as the Uniform Construction Act from here on out. And what this did, it did promote uniformity of cost accounting standards and bidding procedures on construction work performed or contracted by public entities. So since the adoption of the Ordinance 2014, with the exception of the Uniform Construction Act, the purchasing system ordinance had not been updated to reflect any increases in the threshold minimum and maximums. City staff did complete a review of existing thresholds in our neighboring local jurisdictions within Napa, Solano, and Sonoma counties, and city staff did find that the city of St. Helena's thresholds were lower than other jurisdictions. And I do want to say very much a thank you to Kathy Robinson, because she did help build the staff report, do all the background research on it, and I forgot to start out by saying that, but very appreciative to Kathy for helping with this report. So in this report, city staff, are covering the following 3 items. The first is we're comparing impacts of increasing purchasing levels in 2 specific areas. One is the purchase of supplies, general services, and equipment, and the second is in professional services. The next 2 items are their cleanup items for the ordinance, for the purchasing ordinance. The first is recommending changes to the municipal code to reflect the limits approved via Resolution 2001-160, which is the Uniform Construction Act. And then it's also, we reviewed the current language with our city attorneys, and we're recommending changes to the municipal code to add clarification and just do some cleanup items to the purchasing code. So in the first item, in increasing the purchasing limits, for supplies, general services, and equipment, we are talking specifically about changing the levels for purchase order requirements. Currently, the city of St. Helena, we do require any purchases that are over $500. We do require a purchase order. The purchase order process involves staff creating a requisition, submitting it to the finance department processing that purchase order then going back to the city staff. When we did compare with other local jurisdictions, City of St. Helena was the absolute lowest at $501. Average for the cities within our jurisdiction was $6,000 for this particular item. So we did compare the impacts of increasing the current PO level of $500 in 2 different amounts, one being $1,500, one being $2,500. Based on the survey, if the requirement for purchase orders is increased to $1,500, the reduction of workload is estimated to be around 39% of a reduction of workload. If the limit's increased to $2,500, the reduction to workload is estimated to be about 60% of a reduction in workload for that one particular item. Based on the survey scan and the analysis, staff is making the recommendation that the requirement for purchase orders be increased from $501 to $1,501 as referenced in the staff report. The next item, which staff examine impacting the purchasing levels, is in professional services and consulting contracts. Currently, the city manager does have authorization to sign the professional services and consulting contracts up to $10,000. Staff is proposing the city manager signing authority for these contracts be increased up to $25,000, so from $10,000 to $25,000. Currently, anything over $10,000 does require city council approval. When we ran an analysis on this, it looks like there'll be approximately a 29% reduction of required reports to city council, just changing the limits from $10,000 up to $25,000 for the city manager. The second item that was, increased efficiency and cost effectiveness would be achieved by reducing the amount of time and administrative expense needed to obtain certain goods and services. But we do want to make a note that increasing the thresholds does not remove any of the responsibility of the city council or myself as a finance director to ensure that staff is following the policy and that the city is using the lowest, most responsible and responsive bidder for our projects. So those processes are still going to be in place. It's just we're changing some of the limits, or we're requesting to change some of the limits. The second item is merely a cleanup item to the municipal code regarding the public works projects. When Resolution 2001-160 was adopted, the updated dollar amounts were never reflected in the city's municipal code. So while we are following the resolution number 2001-160, we never actually updated it in the municipal code, so this is merely a cleanup item. And then the third item that staff did review is reviewing the current language in the purchasing ordinance. So after this review with our city attorneys, the revisions to the municipal code are being proposed to, one, clarify the definition of contract, purchase order, requisition, and services. Some of these definitions were never put in the ordinance. The second was is reference the relevant provisions of the Uniform Construction Act. When our attorneys looked over what was actually in our municipal code, some of the reference numbers were off, and so we just wanted to clarify that and get the correct numbers in there. We're also adding reference to the requirement for a bidders list for informal bidding procedures. We're requesting to provide electronic notice to potential bidders. We're clarifying the bid opening procedure. We're specifying the requirement for labor and material bond contracts in accordance with the California Civil Code sections, clarifying the city's procedures in the case of tie bids, and we're also referencing professional services provider in place of contractor and awarding professional services contracts. So that was all cleanup language. The fiscal impact for this change, there is not any fiscal impact. So the recommended action by staff is to conduct the first reading amending the city's purchasing system ordinance, knowing that the proposed amendments will increase the purchasing limits for purchase orders and for city manager to sign professional services and consulting contracts, as well as add clarifying language and definitions.
And when you say conducting the first reading, as I understand it, that means waiving the first reading too, right? All right. Any initial questions of staff? Let me open the public hearing. Seeing nobody wishing to comment publicly, I'll close the public hearing. Any council discussion?
I think it's Graves' turn to read that whole thing.
No, he's not allowed to do that. Mr. Pitts, are you willing to move forward here? Or would you prefer for...
I can also recommend or suggest that it would be within your discretion to simply move to adopt the staff recommendation.
I will move to adopt the staff recommendation.
Ms. Kroll? Second. Ms. Black?
Councilmember Pitts?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Emphatically, yes. Okay.
I just wanted to share, while Tracy's walking up, I just wanted to share that although these things seem a little boring and dry, I'm really looking forward to the goal-setting session that we'll have in February with the council and the community, because these are really important things for us. And this is about taking the organization that was, quite frankly, stuck probably 2 decades old, and the last time this purchasing policy came before the city council was 2004. These are really important things for us to be a successful, professional, accurate organization so we can deliver the services to our community. So this seems a little administrative and bureaucratic, but it actually results in service delivery in a more efficient manner. And these things are the kinds of things that we are really proud of. And so I want to thank April and Kathy Robinson for doing this. And these are, as you see, the employee handbook come forward and some other things. These are things we've been working on for months and really are about building a strong organization. So thank you for your time in reviewing that this evening and for your support.
Very good.
Well, if you do the math just on the first one, if you're going to 1,500 or 2,500, you save over a week's worth of somebody's time if it's 20 minutes to a half hour for every request, right? So it really adds up.
Right. And it was a terrific staff report, very detailed. I enjoyed the charts and figured them out, so excellent. So this takes us to item 13, determine acceptance of electric vehicle charger grant from Bay Climate Action Plan, authorize city manager to execute agreement and appropriate up to $14,000 in general fund reserves for additional installation costs. Ms. Burkowski, I see you're there. Are you going to introduce us to this item?
I am. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'm here tonight to discuss an electric vehicle charging grant and receive your direction on how to proceed. First, though, a short history of our project. This project began in January 2014 when the city joined a group of fellow Northern California cities as part of a group application and requested 2 electric vehicle chargers. The grant would supply the charger and pay approximately $3,000 worth of installation costs. In December of 2014, the city was notified that we had received the award. Unfortunately, due to staffing limitations, the project was not reviewed until this current July. At that time, it was determined that one of the 2 sites, that along Railroad Avenue near the wine train, was not suitable as it was not located on city-owned land. As a result, staff sought recommendations from the Sustainability Committee in October of this year. The committee recommended both Miley Park and City Hall as possible second locations. Just a few weeks later, we brought the BayCap project manager out to visit Miley Park and City Hall and offer us some advice on what the installation costs would be for those locations. At that time, staff was warned that those costs would be high, so we also took the project manager to the library in Crane Park so we could have a number of options. About a week later, we were notified that all of our second locations would cost about approximately an additional $10,000. Staff opted to move forward with exploring placing a second vehicle charger at the City Hall location. And that's largely due to the potential usage of that site. So what we're looking at here is an additional unbudgeted expense of $14,000 to install an electric vehicle charger at the Oak Avenue restroom site. That's $4,000, plus $10,000 to install an electric vehicle charger at the City Hall site. So that's the parking lot behind City Hall. In addition, the chargers which are required under the grant have required fees and maintenance costs. That ranges from $920 per year in the first year and escalates up to $3,040 in year 3 and beyond. That's because the grant provides some level of contribution during years 1 and 2. Once we hit year 3, the city is paying the entire cost. Part of the annual fees may be offset by charging the electric vehicle users between $1 and $1.50 per hour to use the location. So what we're looking at here, just in terms of visual, is one location at the City Hall Lyman Park parking lot and the second one at the Oak Avenue parking lot. Again, those would be adjacent to the new restrooms. Some of the benefits of electric vehicle chargers is that they support, there are many benefits to electric vehicle chargers which support the installation of additional units by both government and business owners. Electric vehicle chargers help foster an environmentally friendly community, reduce greenhouse gases, and encourages patronage of local amenities, as it takes about an hour or 2 to fully charge. Chargers are currently available at the Cliff Family Winery, Hall Wines, Krug Winery, and Napa Valley College, but notice that there are none downtown. For this particular grant, we are required to install a ChargePoint brand charging station. That's what it would look like here in town. To use one of these chargers, users must sign up for the ChargePoint network and they receive a fob or a PIN code to be able to access the charger. The city receives a check monthly for usage. Again, those are based on the fees paid by the vehicle owners. Each EV charger is a dual post, meaning that 2 cars can park and use it simultaneously. As such, it requires 2 dedicated parking spaces for EV charging only. In terms of our timeline, unfortunately, we're on a very tight one. If you direct us tonight to move forward with the grant, we must sign an agreement by this coming Monday, November 30th, and construction is anticipated to begin in March of 2016. This is because the chargers must be functional to the public by June 30th, 2016. The Oak Avenue location, again near the restrooms, is constrained because of the construction of the new restroom, which is currently anticipated for completion in autumn of next year. Extra costs will incur for this installation because we'll have to install the charger, remove it, and then reinstall it once the construction is complete. So given all of this information, I'm seeking your direction on how to proceed. In the staff report, I offered 2 options. Option 1 is to decline the grant award due to the $14,000 in general fund reserves required. The city does commit to install an EV charger at the restroom, either through another grant or through CIP funds. Option 2 is to approve the award for one or both chargers and authorize the city manager to execute a finalized agreement and allocate up to $14,000 in general fund reserves for installation costs. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any initial questions?
I'm a little bit curious. If these chargers, the charger itself is $1,500, is that right?
That's
or
correct.
Is that just a reduced price of the charger?
No, that's approximately what they cost. They're actually very inexpensive.
If we went and tried to do this outside of the grant, could we potentially do it for less?
Yes,
and get more chargers? Because I feel like there's just seems like there's a lot of hoops here, and there might be some other way to do it without the grant to get more bang for our buck. And I see you nodding your head yes.
Councilman, there very well could be. In advance of this staff report, I consulted extensively with Public Works Director Palmer and and Project Manager Tobias Barr, whose background is actually in electric vehicle chargers. That's primarily what he did before he came to the city of St. Helena. And he's let us know that there are other options out there besides the charge point where there could be a bigger bang for our buck. And in addition, by doing this charger along with the restroom construction, we'll save some duplicative costs dealing with electric panel installation, conduit running, trenching, relaying asphalt, and those kinds of things.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And how many, I don't have an electric vehicle, so I don't know this.
We won't talk about the vehicle you have.
I have a diesel Volkswagen. But anyway, how many, do most electric vehicle owners subscribe to ChargePoint or not?
I have no way of knowing that
because if we do a ChargePoint one, only those people can use it, right? So I'm just wondering, you don't know.
I have no way of knowing that information. ChargePoint doesn't share that.
Yeah, probably.
So it just seems to me that it seems to me that it might be more cost effective to put in a different charging station that could be used by other people other than ChargePoint subscribers.
Let me see whether there are other initial questions, and then we'll have a discussion here after I open and close the public hearing. Any other initial questions? All right, why don't you take a seat for a moment, and let me open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak at public hearing on this?
I have a question. Could you explain
Your
how,
name, please?
My name is Bobby Monette, and I'm here as a citizen. Could you explain how those charger stations at Krug and Hall and those other locations, how they work? Are those open to the public? Are they part of this scheme? Are they something else? I'm curious.
All right, let's see if there's other public comment. Can you keep that in mind for just a minute? Any other public comment? Then I'll close the public hearing and invite you back to respond.
All of the vehicle chargers that I mentioned are open to the public, and they were installed by those private businesses.
All right.
Are they ChargePoint or not?
I have no idea.
Mr. Palmer?
Director of Public Works, Director Palmer is
They are not.
gesturing.
I know at least the one at Cliff is not. Not ChargePoint.
Okay, so let's have a council discussion on this one.
I think we wait. I think we're committed to doing some EV charging points downtown, but I think we need to get some better options than this one.
I agree with Peter, and I'm also, and partially because we do have the Farmstead, the Cliff family, the Charles Group, we do have other options for people.
Harvest Inn.
Harvest Inn has one too. Yeah. So it just seems like this is not necessarily a great deal.
What's the trigger? What's the timing trigger on this that we have to make a decision by? Is it like yesterday?
Unfortunately, you have to make a decision this evening, as if we wish to enter an agreement, it has to be done by Monday.
Yeah.
So, any further comment from you?
Just sounds like there are additional paths and options that we need to pursue before we commit to make.
Yeah.
So.
I certainly agree with my colleagues on this one, and in terms of sites, to me, the most appropriate site is in connection with the new bathrooms, and I also like the site because it's right behind the main shopping area, and hopefully will induce people to go to the restaurants and visit the shops. But in any event, I think we have unanimous view here as to option one. Do we need a roll call on that one? I guess we do. We need a motion to accept option one.
Motion to accept option one, recommended by staff.
Second.
Ms. Black?
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. Okay. I think that concludes our agenda for this evening. On behalf of this...
We have one more.
We have one more? What do we have?
Flip the page.
What?
14.
What did I miss? Oh, number 14, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mayor Galbraith. Members of the council, I'll do my best to keep it brief.
Here, one second. I think, is this the last one?
Yes.
I need to recuse myself because it's related to the RFP and hotels and conflict of interest, so I guess the agenda's over for me.
All right,
I'll be outside. I'll come back.
okay.
You don't have to come back.
Well, I got to ride with Peters.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Yes.
the item before the council tonight is essentially a request for formal direction to include certain or incorporate land use changes to the Adams Street property and 1480 Main Street into the general plan update in EIR. On October 17th of this year, council reviewed conceptual requests for proposals requesting development for city-owned parcels at 1480 Main, which is City Hall, and also the Adams Street parcel. As a component of that review, staff provided the council with appraisals of each of the properties, and these appraisals identified that the current value of both of these properties would be enhanced by changes to the land use designations of those properties, which currently City Hall obviously is designated as public, quasi-public, and the Adams Street parcel is currently partially designated central business, but is bisected by the urban limit line. During this review, council gave general direction for implementing land use changes assumed by the appraisal. In response to this general direction, staff's returned for formal input and direction to expand the urban limit line to encompass the entire Adams Street parcel, designate approximately a half of 1480 Main Street, or the location of City Hall and the police station, not the fire department, as central business, and then also to designate the entire Adams Street parcel as central business. There is slight fiscal impacts to this. It's not significant, but it will add a very relatively small cost to the environmental analysis and general plan preparation that's currently underway. And staff does not find that it will significantly impact the timeline of that process. However, we wanted to get formal input from staff, given that the previous discussion was under the RFPs, and this is specific to general plan land use changes.
All right.
It's recommended by the planning department that the staff or that the council support expansion of the urban limit line to encompass the Adams Street parcel and designate those two parcels as central business as discussed. I'm available for any questions. There's some graphics provided in the provided staff report as well as the appraisal itself.
All right. Any initial questions of staff?
Just one. Did you look at the pros and cons of changing Adams Street to service commercial?
We looked at a number of potential changes. If you look at the proposed language in the general plan update process for service commercial, there's also a mixed use designation and central business. Staff looked at all of those, and central business was the one that provided the most flexibility. So given the appraisal analysis and kind of the broad range of ideas that were put forth for Adams Street during the community visioning process, staff felt that would provide the most flexibility for the RFPs.
Okay. The only reason that I brought that up was under central business hotels. Let's see if I can find it. Where am I? So, hold on. So hotel rental of rooms limited to upper floors. So is that something that can be worked on after the general plan and updating the zoning codes that we're not limiting ourselves?
Sure. So is that a policy under that?
That's in our zoning code under conditional uses for central business.
So staff has always anticipated there would be a need to do a comprehensive zoning code update after the general plan adoption, and those are the types of things that could be looked at and addressed if council or the planning commission thought it was appropriate.
Right.
Okay. Great.
Okay, good. Any other initial questions of Mr. Hausch? All right, let me open the public hearing. Anybody wish to address this public hearing? I'll close the public hearing. Any further discussion? My only comment would be that I think the council pretty much indicated previously that this was the direction it was going, and it was a unanimous view, as I recall it. So to me, this falls into the category of close to a cleanup item, even though it's could appear to be major, but really it follows on from our prior discussion. So at this point, the chair would entertain a motion that adopts the recommended action.
So moved.
Second.
We're getting good at that.
Vice Mayor White,
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll,
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith.
Yes. All right.
Now that concludes.
So that does conclude our meeting, and on behalf of the city, I certainly wish everybody a most enjoyable Thanksgiving with their families and friends, and hope that all of us who have out-of-town folks coming in get them around our wonderful city.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
What time is the turkey trot?
10 o'clock, I believe.
Oh, it's late.